Time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Buccola alongside Alexa Zepp. We are coming up on Christmas, less than a week out right now. Alexa, you can see I'm wearing my Dodgers Santa hat. I had to do it for producer Mike over there because he's a Yankee fan, so I had to really stick it to him. And I know all the people out there on SportsGrid are going to hate me because they hate the Dodgers and the Lakers and everyone from LA. But you're also rocking your festive Christmas sweater there. How's everything going on your end?
I am. I have pulled out the lovely, ugly Christmas sweater. And while this may not look like a horse racing sweater, to me it really is because I feel like I'm channeling Hialeah Park, which is a really cool racetrack down in Florida, down by Miami, that doesn't actually have live racing anymore. But the flamingos are still there. There's like a herd of flamingos that live in the infield, and they're still there to this day if you go and visit.
I've also got my Grinch ho 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 tie on. I don't get the chance to wear any of my fashionable ties quite as much as I used to when I was on TV every day. But you talked about Florida. We're going to head to Florida for our first segment and for our second segment because it's the time of the year now where Gulfstream Park has their championship meet. And then for our final segment, we're going to do a look ahead at Santa Anita. Opening day is December 26th, day after Christmas. So we've got a loaded couple segments for you here. Let's get right on into our horse by horse preview. What they're calling this weekend, Alexa, is the Pegasus World Cup Preview Day, because in just a month, one of the bigger racing days of the year is the Pegasus World Cup Day at Gulfstream Park. So this race we're going to look at, race number 9 on Saturday at Gulfstream. It's the Grade 3 Harlan's Holiday. It's kind of a prep for that race. We're going to see most likely a few horses from here that show back up in that big race, the Pegasus World Cup, in just a month towards the end of January. And one horse that is really interesting is Tuscan Sky, the number 1. This is a horse who has only raced 6 times in his career. His ceiling is so high. His upside is so high. He's kind of been his own worst enemy. He's one of those horses who I think is a little tough to ride and maybe a little tough to train. But when he shows up with a good performance, he is really good. If he wins this race, I mean, he would be one of the favorites going into the Pegasus World Cup, and he could have an awesome 2025 as one of the top older horses. What do you think about Tuscan Sky in here?
I agree. This would really be a way to kind of set him off and launch him into next year's career. But key player, I think, will be vying for the lead with the two Tumbarumba. Experienced stakes runner, one half of those lifetime starts. Grade 1, grade 2 are a little bit tough for him, but I feel like this field is a really good fit for him, a really good chance for him to get back to the winner's circle. But a lot's going to be determined on if we have a big pace duel or not up at the front.
And one of those horses who might be pushing the pace up in the front is the number 2, Marumba, who is really honest. He's a grade 3 winner. He's going to make his third start off the form cycle, but he is 0 for his last 5. If you want to talk about what his best game is, though, going about this distance, like a mile to a mile and a 16th at Gulfstream, that's where he's really good. And he's a fighter. He does not like to get passed.
Yeah, he's so seasoned too, really experienced horse and run against super tough. I mean, his most recent start was in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, where he got fourth out of a field of 13. He's usually on or near that lead, but also we've seen him come from off the pace. So I do think of the field, he's probably one of the most versatile horses in here. Gotten first or second in 11 of his 17 starts. So, I mean, this is not one to sleep on.
The number 3, Cape Trafalgar, has been sprinting in his last couple. He's now going to stretch out. He actually broke his maiden going a mile in the slop at Gulfstream Park, and he's won 2 of his 3 career races at Gulfstream Park. He'll make his first try, though, against Stakes Company. I think he'll be forwardly placed. You can see him on the chicklets there. He's kind of in the top 4. But do you like him in here? It's kind of a tough spot for him to have to stretch out and face a tough group.
It is an interesting placement. He's actually the first of 3 for Safi Joseph in here. I think he's probably the best from his barn out of those 3 and has Hall of Fame jockey Irad riding, who did ride him to victory at Keeneland. Speed figure wise, the horse is a little bit inconsistent, does seem to be improving, but this is a big ask for him. He's never faced this competition. So I like him as like a long shot underneath play. I mean, he's 6-1, so kind of a decent medium long shot that can hit the board, but probably not to win for me.
The number 4, Digital Ops, is a horse who won last time out at Aqueduct. I can't get a real feel for this one, though, Alexa, because his 2 wins have been when he was right on the front end. And I don't, and in those races, they went a lot slower early than they'll probably go in here. I don't know if he's fast enough to get the lead, so I'm kind of having a tough time placing him in here. Time Form US has him sitting 4th or so. I guess that's accurate. I'm not that high on him. I need to see kind of different tactics from him.
I completely agree. There was a big bias for those wins, so I'm thinking they might not been as quite as good as they looked. Again, another one from the Safi barn. He's a younger horse in the field at 3 years old, so it's gonna be a tough ask. I'm gonna leave him off this time.
So as we are looking at these Timeform US past performances, we actually have an offer for some of you out there. These are one of the types of past performances you can get with the all access past performances. You can look at classic, which are the traditional style that people see in the daily racing form, in the print form. You can get the all access PPs, the formulator PPs, which I really love because you can click and watch race replays, get into charts and all sorts of different stuff, or the ones we've been just looking at, Timeform US. How do they get those, Alexa?
Yeah, so you can scan the QR code on your screen, or you can use the code DRFSGPPS, DRFSGPPs to get your free card.
Well, let's move back to the second half of the field for the Harlan's Holiday. We're going to get to the number 5 in here. I thought was an interesting long shot because this is a horse who we have probably followed from up at Woodbine, was trying to get into the King's Plate, which is their Kentucky Derby up in Canada. And he was doing a lot of his work on the synthetic surfaces. And when he went to the dirt for the first time, he won the Prince of Wales, which is like the Canadian Preakness race. That was his first start on the dirt. He's been really good in his 3 starts on the dirt. He'll probably need to step up. But if I'm looking for a horse at the bottom of the tries or supers, I would be fine throwing him in at a big price.
I agree there's some upside with that surface switch where we just saw, a lot more talent, but I mean, this is a huge ask from a pretty low percent trainer, so I just think he'd need like a really monumental improvement to make an impact here. Fun fact, the owner of this horse is actually the same family who owns Gulfstream Park itself, so we'll have a lot of people there cheering for him. And their stable used to be really hot, over $100 million in earnings, but over the recent years they've kind of tapered off a little bit more. So not a huge connection play there anymore.
The number 6, Steel Sunshine, will come from off the pace. He got a really nice prep race last time out. It was his first start since June. And when you think about Gulfstream Park going a mile in a 16th, well, this is where Steel Sunshine fits really, really well. I could see him running a big race in here, Alexa. I think he's one of the major players. And if they go fast early on, he could really mow them all down late.
Totally. I mean, I'm talking about this pace duel up front, with the 1 and the 2. So if that just has a total meltdown, I mean, he will be there at the end. He's running a ton of graded stakes and only been able to get the win once, but it was at Gulfstream earlier this year. And actually 6 of his 7 wins have been over Gulfstream. So he likes this place. This is his happy place.
Number 7, Rocket Can, had his big win in the Grade 3 Holy Bull at Gulfstream Park last year. And he was on the Kentucky Derby Trail. And I was really looking forward to seeing him as a 4-year-old. He hasn't really progressed, though, all that much, Alex. Like, he hasn't taken the steps forward as much as I wanted. What do you think about Rocket Can in here?
Yeah, a really exciting horse, but made that Kentucky Derby start and then split the field and was off of for a year. So maybe there was an injury or something going on, and since then just hasn't progressed like we want to see. So I'm gonna pass.
Super Corinto, the number 8, rounds out the field. This is an Argentinian bred who was racing in Chile back in 2022, came over to the US at the end of 2022 and ran a couple really good races at Gulfstream Park. So good that they thought to try him in the Dubai World Cup. But after that race, he just hasn't been the same. Was it something that happened in the travel? He just really hasn't been back to his best form.
Yeah, he also had that year off after all that travel. So, I'm worried that his glory days are in the past, and I'm pretty sure the result of this race is probably just going to reinforce that. So I've left him off too.
Let's take a look at our selections here, Alexa, for this one. A couple really nice horses in this field with Tuscan Sky, with Tombarumba, Steel Sunshine, are horses who are all really capable. We have them in the mix there, but talk to us real quick about how you laid it out.
Yeah, I have Tumbarumba on top, followed by Steel Sunshine, Tuscan Sky, and then that medium long shot, Cape Trafalgar.
Thought you might be able to get a little value there with Steel Sunshine. I feel like Tuscan Sky is the one with the most upside. So we'll get ready for our first commercial break. When we return, we'll talk about the all stakes pick 4 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. first segment, we talked about race number 9 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, which is the Grade 3 Harlan's Holiday. In this segment, we're going to go over that race along with 3 others, Alexa, because there's an all-stakes pick 4. The last 4 races on the card on Saturday at Gulfstream Park, all stakes races, 3 of them graded stakes races. It gets kicked off here with the Janus, which is going to go as race number 8. It's a 5-furlong turf sprint. And you and I went through this field. We're going to use 4 horses on our pick 4 sequence. One of them that I like is Maceto, who's a horse who's kind of coming into his own right now. He's lightly raced overall. He's had a couple physical issues because he's had some long layoffs, but I think he's going to come running late. I felt like in this race, 2 of the horses to the outside, the 10 and the 11, were kind of the top tier horses, or the horses who have some of the best efforts. So I'll mention the 11, Coppola, a little bit, who I think can sit a nice trip from the outside, has a little bit of speed, but has some finish. You're going to mention the other 2 that we have on the ticket, Alexa. Tell the folks who are the other 2 that we're using here.
Yeah, I found this race really tough, to be honest. So we
Really
did
tough.
spread, but we're going to use the 2 as well, XY Speed at 8-1 odds. His last 4 races at Gulfstream have all been this distance on the grass, and he's won them all. So, he comes from off the pace, but he has decent early speed as well. And time form, interestingly enough, gives him better early pace figure than a late pace figure. But his speed figures are really consistent, really good. He actually ran a pretty good race despite the placing in the Grade 2 Woodford. He was 7th, but less than 3 lengths off of the win. And there were some really tough horses in there that have come back to run really big races. One of those that ran ahead of him in that race was Arzak, the number 10, who we're going to include in here as well, who got 3rd and is the morning line favorite in this race. He's also one who comes from off the pace and should have a lot of speed to run at in here. His last effort was in the Breeders' Cup in the turf sprint where he got 6th, but was less than 2 lengths off the winner at 52-1 odds. So he definitely outperformed his odds that day. He's won almost $1 million. He's super classy and will be tough competition for sure.
Yep, multiple graded stakes winner. He's the horse to beat in there. So we turn the page from race 8 to race 9. This is the one that we just went over horse by horse. Alexa, remind the folks out there, who are we going to be using on our pick 4 ticket?
Yeah, for the pick 4, we landed on 3 in here. We're going to use the number 1, Tuscan Sky, the experienced stakes runner who's won half of his lifetime starts and will be vying for the lead alongside Tumba Roomba, the number 2, a very seasoned horse whose most recent start was in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile and has tactical speed to handle that pace duel with Tuscan Sky. And then finally the 6, Steel Sunshine, who will be there to pick up the pieces if that pace duel leads to a meltdown.
Okay, so now we're halfway home. We're 2 down in the pick 4. We'll move to race number 10, another graded stakes race here. This is the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale for horses going a mile and an eighth on the turf course here. Alexa, you start us off. We're going to go 3 deep in this one, right?
Yep, we're starting with the number 1, Cash Equity at 4.5-1 odds. It was the beaten favorite last out in the Grade 3 River City, and the beaten favorite is kind of an angle that I like to play. He's a closer, and the pace in that race was really slow, which makes it really hard for a horse to close into. So there should be a lot better pace for him to run at tomorrow. Even though he hasn't won this year, he's hasn't really had a bad race,
No.
just a tough running style, being a deep closer. So Timeform US agrees and thinks that he will beat that losing streak tomorrow. Also, number 4, Major Dude, ran a major race last out in allowance with one of his best speed figures of his life. If you go back to last year, he was a multiple graded stakes winner, and his speed figures have really just continued to improve. So Irad is riding him tomorrow, which is who rode him to victory in all those graded stakes. He should get a stalking trip and be a major player.
The dude abides. I'll also move to the 8, Fort Washington. That's the horse who I like most in this race. Came off of a trip last time out when finishing 3rd. That was really good. Had a 4 wide move at the top of the lane, and the top 2 had just separated. They were 1-2 throughout. So it was a race where there wasn't a lot of passing, and he was making up ground late. If they go too fast early, he will come closing. The number 8, Fort Washington. So that's the 3rd leg of the pick 4 sequence. Let's move to the finale. Alexa, you get us started in race number 11.
Yep, it's the Grade 3 Suwannee River Stakes going a mile on the turf. And we'll be using the number 1 Ocean Club at 4-1 odds, who won the Grade 3 Noble Damsel in a blanket finish in her last start at Belmont at Aqueduct in September. She also won a stakes race over the Gulfstream grass course in May this year, so it's done it before. This jockey has ridden her 6 times and won 4 of them to account for 4 out of those 5 lifetime wins. So when they pair up, they do really well, and things just really seem to be lining up for him this race. And we're getting a decent morning line, I think, at 4-1.
Number 8, Saffron Moon, is a horse who you look at the form, had almost a year off, but her last two races are both really good runner-up finishes. She faced a horse 2 starts back who was awesome that day named Star Fortress, and then last time out, really good second. So I'm expecting her to take a nice step forward with that race under her, and she can move forward nicely off of that. The one I also wanted to mention to the outside is Breath Away. Should I take my breath away? I was going to say, I haven't really warmed up all this morning. I'm classically trained, but anytime I get a chance to sing, I will do so.
Don't
Breath
make me
Away.
sing. Don't make
I was
me
gonna, I was gonna say, if anybody has some flashbacks from our Breeders' Cup show when the music started going in the background and we were rocking and rolling,
Oh my god.
Breath Away in this race is the now horse who's in really good form, and the rest of the field we kind of have some question marks about. Like, we're not sure if the one maybe gets battled with pace. Can that one hold on? We have a question mark maybe about Saffron Moon and the ability to string races together. I'm just really, really sure of what I'm going to get from Breath Away, like a good effort. If she doesn't get in trouble, if there's not like a bad start, she shows up with a really nice effort. So we'll be using the 11 on the ticket as well with the 1 and the 8. So let's take a look at it one more time, Alexa, and we can talk the folks through the ticket. Remember, when you're looking at a pick 4 or a pick 5, something like this, you multiply the amount of horses you have in each race, and that's how much your ticket would cost. So for this one, if we were to go 4 times 3 is 12, times 3 is 36, times 3 would be 108. We're having a 50-cent ticket, so we cut that thing right in half. It's $54. In the first leg of the sequence, 1, 2, 10, and 11. Alexa, we've given ourselves some chance for some prices there, but we also have the logicals. We went all through race number 9 with the 1, 2, and 6. Again, I think we have the real logicals in there. In the 10th race is where maybe we get a little bit outside of the box, I think, with the 1, 4, and 8, and then closing things out with the 1, 8, and 11. So when we return from this quick break, we are going to talk about Santa Anita opening day, December the 26th. 6 graded stakes races on the card. We'll take a little peek in at 3 of them and some of the big names like the Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan. He'll be out in California next week. Okay, for our final segment, we're going to head over to Santa Anita. I got to tell everybody a quick story right now. Santa Anita holds a special place in my heart because I grew up 5 minutes away from Santa Anita. That's always been my home track. When I was a senior in high school, we had a homecoming dance up in the Front Runner restaurant. I was in charge of finding the location for the dance. Of course, I got us a place at the racetrack to have our dance. But my mom and dad actually met each other at Santa Anita. My mom used to sell the digests out in front of the track. She was 18 years old. She would come right from from high school when she was a senior, and she would go straight there. She only had 1 period, so she'd come straight to school to the track. She'd start work at 10 o'clock. My dad's a general contractor, so every day he would come in and he would kind of flirt with her, and every day he'd talk to her, and she'd always kind of smile and laugh a little bit, but nothing much. Till there was one day that they were waiting on a horse that my dad and grandpa owned, and he bet a ticket for her, 50 to win on a ticket. He came down and gave it to her, and he said, "This ticket's going to win today, and you're going to go out on a date with me later on tonight."
Ooh.
The horse won was like 30 to 1. So that ticket, the $50, was worth thousands for my mom. And so I'm very lucky it was a good day for Dad, because otherwise I wouldn't be here right now. But
That's
Santa
some
Anita,
smooth moves. That's some
yeah.
smooth moves from your dad.
I was going to say, Pops, he put his money where his mouth is. So attaboy, Dad. Well done. Well done. So let's see if we can lead some of the folks out there to maybe a winner at Santa Anita. But more than anything, Alexa, in this segment, we wanted to just take a look at some of the big names that are going to be showing up. I looked quickly at the opening day card because as we record on Friday, the past performances came out late on Thursday. 11 races, 110 horses entered. There's only one field that's got a 7-horse field. Every other field is 8 or above. First post at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 6 graded stakes, 3 grade ones. And in this race, race number 7, which is the grade 2 San Gabriel on Saturday, you have the 2022 winner of the San Gabriel, the 2023 winner of the San Gabriel. But Alexa, I don't even think they're going to be favored in this race because we've got the Breeders' Cup mile runner-up, Johannes, in here, who is a perfect 6 for 6 at Santa Anita.
Yeah, I mean, Johannes is such a strong horse. Won 7 out of 12 starts, 4 graded stakes, almost undefeated this year, and all in graded stakes, but got second place in that mile behind More Than Looks. And that was just tough. That was just tough. I think if he would have won that one, possibly the Eclipse winner for best master horse.
Absolutely.
So really will be exciting to see him return, try to make his 4-year-old campaign a 5 out of 6 record, all in graded stakes.
And we were just looking at the Gulfstream Park races in our first 2 segments. We talked about how there's a big race called the Pegasus next month. If Johannes runs well here and stays healthy, he's going to be running in one of those races, the Pegasus Turf race on the undercard. So we'll see if that will be the case for Johannes. Let's flip to the grade 1 Malibu. This is going to go as race number 8. This one's really exciting because we'll get to see the Kentucky Derby winner from earlier this year. Mystic Dan won the Derby, second in the Preakness. But Alexa, he has not run since the Belmont, which was in June. So for him, this is going to be the first start in almost 6 months or so. And it's probably a little bit shorter than where he's going to be at his best. We know he won at 1.25 miles in the Kentucky Derby, and they'll want to stretch him out for big races like maybe the Pegasus, the Saudi Cup, the Dubai World Cup, those types of races. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him run like a really good second or third, and maybe shake some of the rust off. And he is the type of horse that will get bet because people know that name and he's going to take a lot of money. So, I mean, Mystic Dan, it's just going to be awesome. I'm really excited. I'll be out at Santa Anita to get to see the Derby winner.
I'm excited. I won't be there, but I'm excited to see him run on the screen. But, the fact that he hasn't run since the Belmont doesn't really worry me because this summer his trainer, Kenny McPeak, said we might not see him till the end of the year. He deserves a bunch of rest, how much we've asked of him. And so this was the plan, is to give him a bunch of time off, give him rest, bring him back. He's working well. He's embarking on an almost 2,000-mile trip, though, at the start of next week. So, I mean, that's tough, for anybody. But it'll be really exciting to see him run.
Yeah, you'll see some familiar names in there. Stronghold, we remember from the Kentucky Derby. He's a Santa Anita Derby winner. Imagination, we saw in the Preakness. Raging Torrent and Ben Tornado, they're really good sprinters. So this is kind of more their game than it is Mystic Dan's. In the 10th race, it's the fillies that get the spotlight in the La Brea. And wow, I mean, you go through this field, I think it's a field of 11 of them, and any one of them you can make a case for. Multiple graded stakes winners up and down. I think some of the headliners in here, Accuracy, who's been just really sharp as of late.
Yeah, she's super sharp. A little bit of a late bloomer for the Rapoli stable, but kind of broke through with a dominant 15th length victory at Santa Anita, and then another impressive victory by over 7 lengths. So she'll be tough.
6 graded stakes races on opening day at Santa Anita. Before we finish up, we'll tell you one more time about the promo out there. Got to give a shout out to producer Mike, producer Rich, Alexa. I know you're off the next couple weeks. Thanks to everyone for hanging out with us, and let them know again, how can they get the free all access PPs?
Yep. Scan the QR code on your screen or use the code DRFSGPPS to get your free card.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.